Candlewick on Brilliance Audio presents Secret Soldiers, How the U.S. 23rd Special Troops Fooled the Nazis, by Paul B. Janeczko. Performed by Ron Butler. On September 1st, 1939, German troops poured into Poland like an angry sea, and World War II in Europe began. By the end of the year, Adolf Hitler's forces had occupied Hungary and Czechoslovakia as well. Then, after a relatively quiet winter, the war roared back to life in the spring of 1940 as the German army swept through Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg, Yugoslavia, Greece, and France. With Hitler's new conquests, only 50 miles of the English Channel stood between his troops and England. To help make up for what they lacked in soldiers and equipment, the British turned to deception. The U.S. military establishment, on the other hand, felt a disdain for deception, believing that it somehow ran contrary to the American character, which insisted on fair play, even in war. However, a handful of U.S. generals were beginning to reconsider the usefulness of deception in battle. Some historians say that the U.S. military began to rethink its position after the decisive British defeat of German Field Marshal Edwin Rommel, known as the Desert Fox, in North Africa in October 1942. A defeat largely made possible by a set of British deception efforts called Operation Bertram, September to October 1942. When the United States entered the war in Europe in December 1941, it declined to coordinate the Allied deception operations through the London Controlling Section, LCS, of MI5, the British Security Service, and formed its own group to control its deception ops, the Joint Security Committee, later renamed the Joint Security Control, JSC. The JSC included top officers from the U.S. Army, Air Force, and Navy. Each selected a high-ranking officer as an assistant. As its name suggests, the main goal of the Joint Security Control was protecting the security of military information, to keep it from falling into enemy hands. In addition, the JSC was to coordinate cover and deception operations of the military and non-military agencies in the United States. With the JSC established, the stage was set for the creation of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Major Ralph Ingersoll, who worked in London in the operations branch of the Army's headquarters, wasn't shy about taking credit for originating the concept for a super-secret battalion of specialists in the art of manipulating our antagonists' decisions. Ingersoll referred to this unit as my con artists. But was Ingersoll really responsible for creating the deception unit that came to be the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops? Since Ingersoll had a reputation for exaggerating his accomplishments, Rick Beyer, a Ghost Army authority, believes that Ingersoll certainly didn't conceive of the Ghost Army all on his own. He worked with Colonel William Billy Harris at the orders of General Jake Devers, commander of the headquarters of the American Army in Europe, ETO USA, who insisted that the time was right to appoint a permanent cover and deception officer for the European theater of operations. Harris's first task was to assess the role that deception should play in the ETO. Harris issued a report that recommended formation of a deception unit capable of simulating one corps, about 50,000 men, consisting of one infantry division and one armored division, by means of prefabricated portable dummies together with the appropriate radio communications. In the end, it was Devers who endorsed the idea and sent his approval in a memo to the War Department on December 24, 1943. Military historian Jonathan Gahn notes, "Lots of people suggest things, but it was Devers that had his name at the bottom of the memo that went to Washington." Despite the endorsement from Devers, it was still nearly 2 years before the U.S. Deception Unit was fully operational. The U.S. military simply did not have the manpower it needed at that point to quickly move the operation forward. Oddly enough, it was the work of two others, neither a career military man, but each with strong social connections with people in high places in Washington, D.C., that laid the foundation for what was to become the Ghost Army.